So what I want to share with what I want to do first is I want to go through, as I told you guys, as you study, to look at the old exams in reverse order, as in the most recent ones will be the closest to what you guys will actually see on Wednesday and Thursday. And so I'm going to pull up the fall 2013 final exam, and I'll show you what we're looking at. And let's just kind of start with a bit of an overview here. And what you can see here is you're going to see it kind of just like the midterm, and hopefully you guys have been looking at these online. But there will be a multiple choice section that'll be worth 20 points or 30 points. I don't know exactly yet until I finish writing the exam. Depends how big and small the other sections are. But as I told you guys, as you prepared for the midterms, when you go through all these old final exams, there's only so many multiple choice questions I can ask you. Now, I can ask you like different directions of the same question, but it's ultimately the same question. So if you were to study all of the multiple choice questions in all of these exams, you'll have probably seen every multiple choice question I could ask you. So I'll just throw that out to you right now. So if you know, like you know what's going on with these multiple choice exams, right? You'll have an understanding, right? So for example, you know, a researcher looking at a crosstab prior to testing for statistical significance, they have observed that the table is 4 columns and 3 rows. How many degrees of freedom does this table have, right? So that's rows minus 1 times columns minus 1. And I might have different numbers here, but the question is the same, right? So you might see a question like that, right? I could ask you, when conducting an independent samples t-test, so I could ask you about an ANOVA, I could ask you any sort of question like this, and ask you what the independent or the dependent variable is, and you should be able to identify it based on level of measurement, right? What type of thing is going on. There's a good chance I will ask you a short question either about lambda or gamma or both, or a choice of either or, right? So make sure you know what lambda and gamma are, right? So you're not going to get tested on calculating either lambda or gamma, but you are going to be responsible for knowing them. You will definitely, and we will cover today, the calculation of chi-square. You will get that. You will be responsible for it. Practice it for sure, right? You may or may not get a t-test question. You may or may not get an ANOVA question. You may or may not get a bivariate regression question. You may or may not get a multiple regression question. Just so you guys know. And the reason that I sometimes include and sometimes exclude those things, oh, and proportions, by the way. Sometimes include and sometimes exclude those things is sometimes I realize that the exam is run long, and then I'll just cut something out and readjust the points. So, but I won't tell you in advance what I might cut out. So be prepared for t-tests, ANOVA, bivariate, multiple, and proportions, right? Remember proportions we did? It is univariate, but we did it right after the midterm, so it is on the final, or might be on the final, if it survives. All right. So here's a t-test problem. Here's a bivariate. Here's a short bivariate regression question. I've also shown you guys longer bivariate regression questions. It is possible I can give you a short one like this, so be aware of that. Here's an ANOVA question, right? By the way, look at this. The last thing I asked you guys on this ANOVA question. Write a couple sentences how you might expand this question through the use of control variables, right, for 3 points. So I want you to think not just of testing that primary relationship, but as you go through also, you know, possibly think about controls. And that might get asked on any, whether it's a t-test, a chi-square, I could ask you that on anything, right? So just be aware. Here's an example of a proportions problem that showed up on a final, so that could happen to you guys. And here's a multiple regression. So this test is actually pretty good, because what this test does is this test has a multiple choice, which you will have. It has a lambda, which I say you could have a lambda, a gamma, or both, or a choice between the two. It has chi-square. It has a t-test. It has a bivariate regression. It has an ANOVA, and it has a multiple regression and a proportions, right? It has everything. And it's balanced in a way such that some of the questions are shorter, so that you have to answer a little bit less. Oh, and then it has a bonus question somewhere, I'm sure. Bonus question. In this case, this is the William C. Legosso one, right? So that's going to be the structure of the final. And of course, at the end of the actual exam questions, you will have a formula sheet. And after the formula sheet, you'll have a series of tables, you know, for your various distributions. Any questions about what the structure of the final exam is going to look like?
So the only thing that's confirmed we're getting is chi-square, right?
Chi-square, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you for sure will get a chi-square question, without a doubt. But yeah,
Do we get like the little, can we make like a little cheat sheet like with the midterm or no?
yes, yeah. So just remember, you guys are permitted to use a cheat sheet, 8.5 by 11 paper, double sided, same as the midterm, and so both sides of the page, right? And again, no staples, no tape, no things stuck to your paper. One sheet of paper is all you get. So if you can't figure out how to print on two sides, if you're using a computer, then print on one side and write on the other, or whatever. But yeah, you're welcome to use any combination of, from a printer, handwritten, whatever works for you. I'm fine with that. Put whatever you want on it, whatever you need. Work your way through calculations, write definitions, write examples of hypotheses, etc. Whatever you find useful. All right. Other questions on the structure of the final?
Just to confirm, you said the ANOVA test, t-test, proportions, and multiple regression, and what was the other one? The Bayesian regression are the potential ones that will be tested on?
Right. I mean, which is essentially everything we've covered.
Okay.
Right.
I just want to make sure I have the list so I can properly study each one of those.
Yeah, and
correctly.
this fall 2013 exam doesn't have a full example of all of those sorts of questions because, I mean, for example, this bivariate regression is a very short bivariate regression question, and other bivariate regression questions might be longer. But this particular exam has something from everything on it, so it's all kind of there.